Welcome back to all sins and commandments alike, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Griever, as always, bringing you guys another series of review videos for brand new Season 3. The official Season 3, not that bullshit that Netflix gave us, but an official Season 3. Wrath of the Gods, 7 Deadly Sins, no Natsu no Taizai, Episode 1. Now, I think we're going to have to talk. I think we're going to have a little one-on-one, you ladies and gentlemen, you lovely crowd, and myself. Because you loyal subscribers know that I love 7 Deadly Sins. I have put up with a lot of crap with the way the manga has gone currently. And this will be spoiler-free, ladies and gentlemen. Just so we're clear, this will be, even though I review the manga, all these episode reviews will only talk about details. I might hint to things, and if I do really need to talk about something spoiler-esque, I will make sure that there's a spoiler warning either down in the video or I'll actually say it before it happens in the review. So just be sure to watch out for that in case you're an anime-only viewer. But that being said, let's get into this because I'm going to be doing manga comparisons. And it's impossible to spoil something that's further in the manga if they show it in episode damn 1. Alright, so right off the bat, there was a lot of hype for this series, right? There was a lot of hype for this particular season because it's part of some of the best Taizai. However, there was also a lot of skepticism. I mean, One Punch Man Season 2, a lot of people had the hype, and then there was the skepticism, and then there was optimism, and then there was just disappointment, right? Dragon Ball Super, hype and disappointment. Right off the bat, I watched the opening video. And let's just be clear, I don't like the opening. I don't, alright? I don't like the actual opening that I'm going to have to watch each episode. I don't like the song. I don't think it matches. And I honestly don't think that the mesh of just constantly, okay, let's show all 8 characters doing something that's more of a still image than anything else, then let's show the 10 antagonists in still image more than anything else. And then, it just felt like a mishmash of how many different ways can we incorporate symbols and character faces all in this one, 3-minute opening with a song that doesn't match. I didn't really care for it. I really didn't. But let's just talk about the key things in this episode first, because there are a few key things that I want to get out of the way before we get into the actual episode. Number 1, animation. All right. There is lackluster, especially at the beginning. The end, I would say the last 7 to 10 minutes are fine. The animation looked clean. The fight scenes looked okay. They didn't look any really better or worse. I still think that Season 1 had some of the best animation and some of the best stills. This one, it feels like a lot of their stills, they're not spending enough time to carefully detail and draw each character's face, eye proportions, expressions. Meliodas looks just sometimes his face looks really fat on one side and stuff, or his eye, his hair just doesn't really look like his and stuff. A lot of the stills and a lot of the faraway shots are not polished. Polished is the word I'm going to use, because it still looks like Bond, it still looks like Meliodas, but Bond's hair looks like they could have just spent another 5 minutes on detailing it, because it just looks like a random any spiky hair character. It doesn't look like Bond's hair. It doesn't flow back properly. Things like that. Just those little details seem to be missing slightly. So the quality is not bad, but there is definite room for improvement. However, I noticed this was most heavy in the filler-only scenes. As far as I know, there is some filler-only scenes. I'm going to describe them because I had to go back and reread a bunch of random chapters. I had to jump 30 chapters into the future and 10 chapters behind where this episode should be at, because it's a big mishmash of stuff they didn't say that they should have said at the end of Season 2, and then they just jumped forward and grabbed a bunch of random scenes from Season 3 and just started clumping them all into Episode 1. So, and with that segue, why don't we talk about that portion of it, because animation-wise, as I said, everything was okay, but some stills and stuff. But actually, right before, the stills. Heavy use of still images and still backgrounds. Like, I'm okay if you're going to use a character. There was a lot of monologuing this episode, like inner monologues, so maybe that's the reason. But I mean, I could do a better job than this. Like, this isn't, some of this just wasn't done well. Like, make the tubes in the back, make the bubbles go, or at least move some clouds, or have the wind blow in the background or something. Make their hair flow a little bit, because it's okay to have still images of it zooming out or something like that, or sliding up slightly with mouth flaps, with mouth movement, because they're speaking. But having a still image just zoomed in, zoomed out, slid to the side, slid down, slid up, that was heavy usage here, and a lot of flashback stills. They didn't even use the animation from season 2, which is already done. They didn't even decide to like flashback and slow down the animation of like Meliodas crying, which is like shown 3 times in this episode. They wouldn't even use that and just slow it down to match the monologue, the dialogue pace, and show the animation. No. They had to take a still while they're already monologuing in a still format. There was a lot of still images, is what I'm saying. A lot of like basically anybody with Windows Movie Maker or PowerPoint could have made big chunks of this episode, I feel like. So that to me was a bit of an issue, especially one particular scene where Estarossa is lying in some sort of vat thing, He seems to be, so Estarossa's body, it seems to be healing or something. He's incapacitated, but he seems to be in this green, goopy, Power Ranger-looking laboratory. And a lot of the time, you see his hair flowing because he's in some type of liquid, right? So his hair is back and it's like washing off in the water. And you also see like the bubbles constantly in the sound effects, doing that stuff, kind of like he's in a green colored spa. The thing is that in one particular shot, an actual full close-up, in one it's fine, they keep moving it, but in another one, they literally have a still. They don't even show the bubbles moving or his hair moving. It's just a still while Zeldris talks about him. That's just laziness. That's lazy, because there are 4 shots of Estarossa in this vat, and one of them's a still. 3 of them are animated. But the close-up, out of one of the 2 close-ups, they didn't even bother to animate. Like, that just shows either huge time crunches, which is like a total possibility, or that's just laziness, in my opinion. That's just lazy, guys. Like, I understand a lot of these scenes are filler scenes. They're not in the manga, so clearly they just want to rush through it. They didn't want to spend time on it. But I don't really take to that very much. Part number 2, segue number 2 to this issue is the mix and match of said scenes. Lots of filler in this episode to try to tie things all together. And as I said, the quality in those filler scenes is noticeably worse. And the issue I have is that they are trying to, with the exception of, okay, so we see that Estarossa clearly is having some sort of flashback things involving Meliodas and Elizabeth and Meliodas together way back in the day. And it seems that he was watching them fall in love or something like that. He seemed to look up to his older brother. There was that kind of situation going on here, right? And those, of course, are done in stills as well, because why not? Some fans will be ticked because we didn't get this information until much further in the manga than this point in the story. However, as someone who understands what a seasonal show is supposed to do, episode 1, if you had just taken the 2 to 3 chapters that this actually takes place, it's not a very strong start. It's really not. I can't really, without like divulging a lot of information, I can't explain why, but you manga-only readers will understand that the way season 2 ended was not the best spot for them to end. And starting off here in season 3, if you followed the manga, it just doesn't work well. It's not a good starting pace to go panel for panel. So the Estarossa stuff intrigues people. It's this filler scene of Estarossa, which still, it's a filler scene, but it does happen just in a bit of a different way. We still get the same information, and it happens much later in the manga, and it doesn't ruin anything necessarily, but it does intrigue an anime only, audience to go, okay, we didn't know any of this. What's this? What's that? You need to pull your audience in. You need to attract them to new information, right? So, unfortunately, that's just the way it happened, because they didn't really end season 2 really at a true end of an arc. There's too many segues. It's too melded together. There's too much gray area. So, though some of the filler scenes were just kind of like, that one actually makes sense as to why they would want to bring season 1 starting off in a high note. And we'll talk about another scene that does that as well. The inclusion of all these grabbing too many, I feel like they did grab too many scenes, however, because some of these scenes, especially the ending battle scene with the Seven Sins minus King and Deanne, with Peliotis, right? The Dragon Sin Peliotis and that whole village being overtaken by the demons and that kind of stuff. That was a big character thing. More so for there was. See, it's very hard not to spoil, ladies and gentlemen. It's very hard not to spoil here, but I'm just going to say that this scene is, unfortunately, it's drawn out much further, and it's a little out of place. It's not so much out of place. You can understand how this would flow in the timeline, but it takes away from certain other characters some of their inner monologues and what this scene is supposed to represent and mean in the manga. So they took way too many. Put it this way, ladies and gentlemen. In the manga, the only scene here that actually happens, there are only 2 scenes. One where Hauser actually becomes the substitute, or he's the actual, right now, he's the Great Holy Knight. He's the Holy Knight Captain, that kind of stuff, right? He's the Grand Magical Knight. Meant to lead, a Great Holy Knight. That's what Hauser is. That happened, and Deanne and King basically having the very classic shonen, we're both in the bath at the same time. That's it. Clocked in, that's probably only about 4 minutes. Because even the scene of Griamore and Hauser walking through the town and stuff, that's filler. So, in all honesty, most of this episode was filler, or scenes that do happen but were changed so drastically for this episode, they might as well be considered filler with a hint of manga panels. I don't know if this was the right direction. I do believe that they couldn't have just jumped in, as I said before, and given us the just start off where season 2 left off, and here's chapters 2, like 200, 201, 203, that kind of stuff, and just meshed it all together. It wouldn't have flown well for a first starting episode. But you could have done like 6 minutes, maybe even 8 minutes of filler to kind of walk us through it. And then the other half, like, let's get going with this, right? So I don't know if they've planned this out very well because, I was hyped for the episode, but I was kind of like, they changed way too much for me. And I understand this isn't an OVA, but a lot has been changed. A lot has been, I don't think I'm with it. And as far as another big problem we have here, where's the blood? Where's the damn blood? We had blood for 2 full seasons. This is a gory, demons being cut in half, blood everywhere type of anime. And it's all white. But it looks like it was a last-minute censorship. Does it not? Does it honestly look like that belongs? That white, magical, dusty blood stuff, that substance? Does that honestly look like it belongs? It looks like it was filtered. It really does. To me, it looks like they took like white highlights on, they cut out the red on a Sony Vegas program and just upped the contrast and white glow to max. And it was originally red. Does it not look like that? Was this last minute censorship? Because it's bad. I don't like it one bit. And I hope this isn't the case. I hope this was just something, maybe we'll get different links later, like, oh, yeah, that was the one that we put on the, Saturday morning cartoon version. The other version's not out yet, because of course we're all watching this subbed on the internet right now, so there might still be time for them to change that, or be another version where the blood's in it, sort of like Dragon Ball Z was censored sometimes on Cartoon Network and stuff back in the day. But yeah, I don't know, guys. That looked pretty poor. That looked pretty poor. What else was there? Well, as I said, the animation in the filler scenes was kind of bad. Basically, we start off with the same. They basically rehash for the most part. Okay, here's what's going on. Demons have taken over. They do kind of rehash. It jumps around a lot, honestly. Like, they take, like, literally, like, 6 minutes into the episode, that's when they explain everything that's happened. Like, in the previous season. Like, it literally happens almost halfway through the episode, it felt like. It doesn't happen at the very beginning. They have all these, like, news scenes. Then they do the recap of season 2. Then they go to the rest of the episode. Poorly paced. I don't know what they were thinking about the pacing and the position of all these scenes. As I said, I already complained about a lot of stuff. As I said, the Esther Rosa stuff does intrigue a Season 3 anime-only audience to grasp onto something, because I think an episode made out of the last few chapters that it should have been would have been boring without something to bulk it up and jump around to a few other characters. So I was okay with that, but I think they overdid it. I think they went way too far, and they grabbed way too many scenes from way too many spots in the manga and meshed them all together. It's just not. And another problem is, like, Merlin fixed all of Leonis. Like she fixed all the buildings. I might be wrong on this. I had to skim a lot of chapters before doing this episode, and then rewatching, like, parts of the episode to make sure that it was different or wrong or whatever. And yeah, I don't remember that. I might have missed a panel, forgive me, but even at the end of season 2, she's like, yeah, I fixed all the buildings overnight, you know? And Escanor's like rubbing her back and rubbing her feet, and she's having a bubble bath to congratulate herself. And Griamore and Hauser have the exact same conversation that Merlin had with Escanor at the end of season 2. The exact same one. Merlin might have restored all the buildings and stuff. However, you know, people are still downtrodden, and the souls of the people haven't recovered yet because she can't revive the dead and all this stuff. I'm like, what? Oh, man. Like, what? You know, it just... Like, they just decided to redo the scene, but now it doesn't make sense because Merlin supposedly restored the building. What? Did she only restore it right near the castle? Only the rich people? Only the high and mighty? No. She restored the whole, like, Leonis. She restored all the buildings, as far as I was aware. So, and why would she stop? Why would she stop there at the castle? So, it just doesn't make any sense. So that scene kind of took me out of the moment. Yeah, a lot of repeat stuff. I mean, it is only episode 1. And let's just jump into the extension of the Pelio scene. Wasn't bad for you know, building some more hype for these demons, they're taking over and stuff. We understand that there are still multiple commandments out there. We got Gloxinia, we got Droll, we got Zeldris. Even though Fraudrin and Galen, everyone's defeated, we have Melisukla, or Meliskila, or whatever they call her. I always called her Melisukla. And yeah, just I don't know. It was enjoyable enough, but there was a lot of, like, little nitpicks and little problems that I just sat back and went, okay, you know, for every good scene, there was, like, too many stills of it. Like, there was still, like, either bad quality animation or just lazy animation with too many stills and too many just doing that kind of crap, like cop-outs. And then when there wasn't that, there was something like the white blood thing, which is just weird. And if there wasn't that, they took a scene from 40 chapters at a place and then changed it so much and made it more filler. It just, like, I just don't think that, I think they tried to do something here to get a new audience in, and I know I keep repeating myself about that, but it just, I don't know, man. I think they overdid it a little bit. I do. The ending fight was cool. I didn't mind the inclusion of, like as I said, the fight scene at the end here looked really good. I thought it didn't look the best. It was no Hendrickson fight from season 1, but it still looked good. Escanor looked like a boss. Escanor wasn't actually, just spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. Escanor was not actually in that fight when it happened in the manga, so this is a new scene with Escanor showing himself off. I don't mind getting myself more of my favorite characters, so that wasn't a bad inclusion. Seeing all the sins and the old soundtrack back. Once again, Seven Deadly Sins soundtrack is some of the best in current running animes. So it definitely still brought that hype. Even though the new opening song sucks, they're still sticking to the original soundtrack they started back in season 1. And that is some hype moment building stuff. So Yeah, like, so there is some problems, but overall, guys, I mean, this is what we were here to talk about, right? We were here to talk about, okay, what are the changes? How's the animation? How's the filler? How's the sound? How's the opening and the ending? That's another thing. The ending. That ending, that's a good ending. That song's a good ending. That animation at the end is a good animation. I don't understand why they didn't just make it a little more like bright at the end sort of idea and make that the opening. I really don't. Because the opening's bad. It's a bad song, in my opinion. Once again, my musical taste might be shit, but I don't like the song. I don't think it's even a very good song. It's poorly paced. And then the animation is just like there's too much like, wow, throw this at you. Like, you know, you ever seen like some kid like draw a nice rainbow, and then you see the other kid like come along and be like, yeah, but you need more blue, and just draws right over like the red, or just something totally out of order out of a rainbow or something. Like, it's just it felt sloppy. Sloppy is the word I want to look for. Sloppy. So the very last part of the episode is King and Deanne, of course, catch each other in this hot spring bath. And that's really what the real chapter had. That's where we really are, is that they went to hang out in the Fairy King's forest with Matrona and the fairies and everybody, and King Deanne went for a little dip at the same time, accidentally, sure, and basically they caught each other and they both screamed. Now, not only do they censor the blood, we don't even get to see some cleavage here from Deanne at all. And if you guys are curious, check out the manga panel for this, because there be some heavy cleavage, if not just full blown. I mean, you might as well basically call it partial nudity at this point. I don't know. Like, it's just, that's another thing that was in season 1 and season 2 of Taizai. You know, it's part of it. Why are you trying to hide this stuff? This isn't exactly a 6+ age group anime, right? So what are you doing here? Give us our blood. Give us our little bit of, we're a bunch of dirty perverts too. So give us our little bit of our cleavage and stuff like that. I want to see it. I want to match it. I mean, Deanne's good for at least something. I guess they want to take away her something. Talk about her hammer, guys. Talk about her hammer, because I didn't see Gideon in that shot. Jesus, you guys are dirty. Anyways, all right, so that's basically, I've ranted about this long enough. This took longer than the episode, so you guys are, you're done with me. But this was only review 1, so there was a lot to talk about and stuff. Episode 2, it'll be much shorter, because I'm not going to complain about but there was stuff to talk about, right? Like the white blood, the censorship, the amount of filler, the switching of scenes. Like, there was a lot to talk about here, right? So I'm not going to jump into anything more new. Unfortunately, as I said, this episode 1 review was going to be a lot longer because there's more to talk about. But in episode 2 review and subsequent, if it is censored, I won't really bring that up other than a snide comment here and there. I've already talked about the animation. I think it's kind of mediocre in places, pretty good in others. Only 1 episode, not enough yet to really judge it as a whole yet, but we'll find out. So that being said, guys, that was episode 1 review for the Nanatsu no Taizai, also known as the 7 Deadly Sins. Episode 1 of Season 3, Wrath of the Gods. For anybody who is interested in seeing more of my episode reviews, just stay tuned. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be sure to try to get these things out in a timely fashion. The more likes, the more views, the more of that, all that good shit, the more likely that I'm going to push myself to get these episode reviews out as fast as possible to you guys, to you loyal subscribers. So, that being said, everyone, this has been Griever, your host as always. Drink responsibly, as clearly I'm not. It's only Wednesday night, Jesus. And we will see you back here next time, guys, for episode 2. Till then, see ya.